up for a vote again later this morning. Meanwhile, I want to bring in Democratic Congressman Subramanyam of Virginia for more on this. Congressman, thank you for coming on. What's your response to what you just heard those Republican leaders say?
Well, the one thing I agree with is that this was avoidable because Republicans had 6 months to negotiate a deal with us. And not once did I get a call or any Democrat get a call to try to figure out a solution. The first time that we got any sort of contact was Hakeem Jeffries talking to the president in the Oval Office. And in the end, I can't believe they would, with a straight face, talk about protecting veterans' benefits and food assistance when all they've been doing is cutting those things this entire Congress. And so in the end, this is life or death for many of our constituents. Insurance companies are looking at things right now as far as premiums for next year. They're looking at doubling, maybe even tripling a lot of people's premiums. That's to say nothing about deductibles. And then the federal workers that I represent in Virginia have already been fired. They've already been cut. They talked about federal workers in that news conference. Well, how dare they? The federal workers that I know in my district are saying that they are continuing to fire them and make their lives miserable, even though those folks serve our country well and help keep us protected and safe and healthy. And so, there's a lot of lies there. And one other lie that people need to know, your viewers need to know, is this lie about us trying to push for health care for illegal immigrants, and that's the reason we're shutting down the government. The programs that we're trying to protect illegal immigrants are not eligible for those health care programs. So there's a lot of lies in there, a lot of misinformation. That's what happens when you're in a tough spot, which is what they are. They need to come to the table and actually work with us on a solution.
Vice President Vance says Democrats should reopen the government and then begin negotiations about health care subsidies. Why don't Democrats do that?
Vice President Vance and this president and this House Republican majority has lost our trust. They've lost the trust of the American people. So we do not trust them. What we want to see is them to come to the table right now, and instead of assurances and words and lies, come to the table and figure it out now. You had 6 months. This was absolutely avoidable, but they did nothing over those 6 months but continue to cut federal worker jobs, continue to cut benefits for veterans, and continue to cut health care and food assistance to the American people. And so I don't see anything changing. A lot of Democrats during the last shutdown fight back in the spring thought that they'd be able to pass a continuing resolution and then work some of this stuff out. Well, even those Democrats, many of them now don't trust this administration or this Republican majority.
Now, in the past, Democrats have accused Republicans of holding the government hostage, in their words, for trying to negotiate legislative changes as a condition for passing a spending bill. Are Democrats now doing the same thing?
No, what we're doing is life or death for our constituents. People will not be able to go to their doctor. They're not going to be able to afford their premiums anymore. And then in my region in Virginia, we have federal workers getting fired left and right. The ones that are staying are getting harassed all the time by DOJ staffers. And then you've got contractors. Remember, the contractors and their employees, they don't get paid during a shutdown, but their contracts have been canceled overnight and given to Republican and President Trump's cronies. I mean, this has been a terrible situation for our community and our district. And so, frankly, we need to make sure that we have a real continuing resolution, a real solution, and not what they put forward in front of us.
As many as 4 million Americans could now lose their paychecks for weeks, depending on how long this goes on. Women and children who rely on WIC benefits for food could lose those benefits as well. Why is this shutdown worth it for Democrats?
It's not a good idea. I do not want a shutdown. Let's be clear. Republicans, again, have had many months to work this out, but they have not done so. They have not even attempted to do that. They're continuing to put really bad legislation in front of us like they've done all Congress, and they expect us to vote for it. We didn't vote for it last time in March, and we're not going to vote for it again. It's not the same. If they wanted to do a bipartisan continuing resolution, they could do the one from last December, but they didn't do that. So they're continuing these policies of cutting benefits and cutting programs that help the American people. And so, frankly, what we need to do is actually come together and solve this, but that's not what's happening right now. I'll say, too, that these legislators that were at that press conference, they're all getting paid right now, while all these federal workers are not. I'm not going to accept pay during this time. I want to see them do the same thing. The only way you're going to make Congress change is by changing the way we do things, and that includes making sure members of Congress are not immune to the troubles that are faced by these federal workers whose paychecks are on hold.
Congressman, neither side is budging right now. Do Democrats have a plan for how this ends?
It's very simple. Stop the cuts and save health care for the American people. What we've put forward is actually wildly popular with the American people. We are giving Republicans a gift, in essence, and all they have to do is do what the majority of the American people want, which is to stop these cuts to health care, stop these cuts to the federal workforce, and come to the table and fund this government the right way. But instead, just like every other Republican administration in recent years, the last shutdown was during Trump's presidency. He loves shutdowns. They were bragging and excited about this shutdown so they can continue the assault and control of the federal government and federal workforce. And so what we have to do instead is come together, figure this out in a bipartisan way. But as soon as they come to their senses and actually come to us and work on these issues together and come to a solution, I think that's when a shutdown will end. But until then, we will be in this really terrible position as a country.
All right, Democratic Congressman Subramanyam of Virginia, we appreciate your time today, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.